Good morning. In the United States and across our allied countries, our focus on national defense and on national security are blinding us to everything else that's going on. We tend to see the world and the other countries in the world through the prism of military capabilities and military power. But economic power is power. Diplomatic power is power. Commercial power and industrial power, pricing power, logistics and supply chains. These are power structures of a different kind, and they're more enduring, and they run deeper. 10 years ago, China announced a plan for a new network of ports. It was called the Maritime Silk Road, and the name itself has a lot of historical significance here in Asia. Just 10 years ago, that's all. At the time of the announcement, China had investments in 44 ports across the world. Now it's over 100 in 50 countries. This is from the Washington Post. The Silk Road was aimed at improving China's access to the world markets. The investments have slowed down since because of slowing growth and the U.S. pushing back. No, the investments have slowed down because they're almost done. These ports are almost finished. They're operational now and producing. This is the report from the Council for Foreign Relations. China owns or operates 115 active projects across the world. Of those, just 14 could be purposed for military use. So 14 out of 115. Here is a map they've put together. The darker colors represent a higher percentage of ownership by Chinese companies. The triangles are the bases that can be used by military ships. And it is a nifty interactive map. We can put our cursor over the shapes and it goes into detail port by port. So here's Brazil, a Brics country. Potential for naval use is uncertain. They don't know if China can use it for warships or not, but here's what we do know. China put in $700 million. And since that port's been done, China is now the biggest buyer for most of Brazil's beef and chicken and soybeans. Council of Foreign Relations and the Army War College are trying to figure out why China dumped all this money into a port if they can't bring an aircraft carrier in. Meanwhile, Brazil is putting our Midwestern farmers out of business. So there's $700 million at São Luís mega port. At Paranagua, it's $920 million. And that port can serve all of southern Brazil and Paraguay. If you're South Brazil, a U.S. Navy pulling into Paranagua is of no interest to you whatsoever. A container port is something else. It means markets and jobs and low-cost products coming in and exports going out. Just looking at a few more in South America, Pacific. Ecuador, $110 million. Chancay, Peru, $230 million. Newport, Peru, $410 million. This is from Lazard. This is a fantastic report. It runs over 40 pages, and we reference it a lot. Chinese exports to the United States were falling at the time the report was published. Exports from China to the U.S. are not falling anymore. They've since rebounded and hitting records. Anyway, Chinese exports are rising to everywhere else. China exports more to the Belt and Road Initiative members than to the European Union, the United States, and Japan combined. Last sentence. This illustrates China's deep trade links and the difficulties in dislodging them. It's not just Chinese exports, it's other countries that are importing. These are trade relationships that are being built across markets in the world. In the United States and Europe, we are not in them. Back to the Washington Post, where they're talking to military experts instead of business people. The U.S. is still the biggest military power in the world. We have 750 overseas bases. China's got only one. But the Army War College is focused on whatever military purposes may be served by these maritime Silk Road ports. The expansion is critical to China's economic power, but also to their military potential. It's not a coincidence. There is a strategic aspect to these ports. That's their conclusion. But the commercial aspect is the strategy, and it's everything. What should we think most of the world's countries are hoping for? To become part of our network of 750 overseas bases? Or part of the new economic bloc that they're being stitched together? 150 countries or so that are not members of Nato. As of last September, China had signed 70 shipping agreements with 66 countries. And here they say again, China is not a global naval power, and they have few overseas naval bases. But they're focused on everything else. Here are the countries ranked by total Chinese FDI into the ports. Tanzania, number 1. Australia, number 2 at $8 billion. Those are giant mining countries. The far right column is whether these countries are part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Australia is a no. Israel is a no. Everyone else is in, looks like. Who are some of the yeses? Saudi Arabia, yes. South Korea, Thailand, Kenya. The United States has military bases in those places, big ones. Maybe in some of these others too. But they're Belt and Road countries. Washington Post again, China's port network presents a different challenge to U.S. security interests. It's the world's premier commercial maritime power, and now they have a strategic hold over parts of the world, and they could restrict U.S. troop movements, freedom of navigation if they so choose. They are an asymmetrical threat. Our experts in Washington and Europe are looking hard at these maps right here, and they're writing papers about how easy it would be for China to go from one overseas military base to 15. And these experts have all missed the elephant in the room, the most important economic story since the Industrial Revolution, maybe longer than that. These are supply chains and logistics facilities, not only for China, but for their entire new trading bloc. And it's already bigger than ours. These are China's ports, but they're Brics markets in friendly countries. And those ports mean jobs and exports and imports, tax revenues for their governments to operate, money for schools and hospitals and municipal projects. That's power. That is hard power that smaller countries understand and they want to share for themselves. So South America is joining the Belt and Road and Brics. So is South Asia, so is Africa, so is the Middle East. And China is doing more business with all those countries than with North America, plus Europe, plus Japan combined. This is the Yili grasslands, Xinjiang. Be good.
So, y'all ready for Brics versus Nato? Man, that's going to be something crazy, ain't it? Because that's what it seems like it's coming down to. You've got all these different countries picking a side. And at the end of the day, there can only be one person on top. You know what I'm saying? Man, I mean, shout out to China for, setting up all this stuff. And I feel like they are going to be helping out other countries. Whereas, the U.S. tries to basically take from these other countries. But who knows? We have to wait and see what China's going to really do, what their real plans are at the end of the day.